But we'll have lots of time at the end to answer questions. We'll go over the course, kind of what to expect, how it's laid out, pacing. So how do you manage your pacing in a ride like this, whether you're doing a 50K or 100K, and then fueling and hydration, go over some tips on that. And then some group riding, etiquette things and rules just to keep yourself safe and make sure that you have an enjoyable day out there. And then skills, how to make sure that we prevent any chances of crashes happening. So I'll give you a few tips of making sure that we do that and we stay as safe as possible. As we like to say in our little community, we always like to keep the rubber side down. That's the main goal when we're out there riding. And just some other logistical things, like where aid stations are and that type of thing, and just any questions that you might have. We'll be able to answer those today. All right, so you've seen this map. It's on the course website. Mike's also sent this information out, but just as a review, the green dot at the top left there will be the start. Then we roll over on the far side of the lake, so that's the top side of the map there, through Fort San, and then into Fort Qu'Appelle, through Lebret, and then Katepo Beach. And then there's an aid station around Katepo Beach, just by the park there. I'm guessing probably be around the entrance, Mike, probably is where that little aid station will be, you figure?
The first aid station?
Yeah.
The first aid station is in the Katepwa Marina.
Yeah. So yeah.
It's basically a dismount aid station.
Yep.
So we'll have a bike rack there for everyone.
Awesome. Look at that bike rack. That's luxurious, I tell you. So that's awesome. So yeah, so that would be kind of first aid station. That's roughly about 25 kilometers into the ride-ish. And then you'll do turn around, then you'll head back on that same road towards Lebret again. And then just be aware by that Lebret area. There is some traffic and some tracks as well. So you just want to be train tracks. So you want to be aware of those things. And then you'll head back in towards Fort Qu'Appelle. But instead of heading back towards Fort San, you'll actually take a left and head through Fort Qu'Appelle and head down the Lake Road towards Bethsaida and then back to Echo. So it's a nice little route there. And then if you're doing the 100K, you'll just repeat that again. So that 50K does one loop and the 100K does two loops. It's rolling terrain. There's some small little climbs and descents. The one thing to be like super careful of and cautious of is there, especially as you're around the lakes, like both on the Fort San area and then the Bethsaida area, those roads can be pretty winding and narrow. So we really recommend that in those sections you do ride single file. Would be a suggestion for those sections, just because it is pretty narrow there and winding. So just to make sure that you're staying in a good formation there and not more than two riders across at any time. And then this shot from Fort Qu'Appelle to Katepwa is a really nice road. It's fairly new, and it's a beautiful little spot there. In all these roads, there's not really there's not really shoulders per se in any of the roads, so they're really narrow if they are. So you want to stay fairly close to that edge of the road where safe, obviously where conditions allow. But yeah, that's where we want to make sure that we're not riding more than two abreast or side by side there. So. So one of the questions that always comes up with these rides is like, how hard should I ride? Well, if you've never done a ride like this before or close to this length, or maybe not in this format, I always like kind of say, you want to keep it keep it, especially the first 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, keep it really easy. Like it almost feels too easy when you're riding. Just really comfortable. If you're riding with some people, you're socializing a little bit, you're able to talk to them if they're beside you. You're not breathing heavy or out of breath. And then once you get to that middle section, after that first 20 or 30 minutes, then you can kind of settle into, a steady pace. And a steady pace for you is where, your breathing's elevated a bit, you're working, but again, it's very sustainable and manageable. And then that final 10K, if you want to push it there, that's a place you can push it. Again, just making sure that you're always keeping aware of your surroundings with traffic. This road isn't closed to traffic at any point, so you want to make sure that you're riding just as you would in any road that you've ridden on, that you're sharing the road with cars. So you always want to be aware of your surroundings that way. And we'll talk about some of the safety things. Sometimes in group riding too, you can kind of get sucked into riding harder than what's comfortable for you, especially at the start, because you're trying to keep up with everybody. And it's really important to ride at a pace that's comfortable for you. This ride is about you and your enjoyment. So making sure that you ride at a pace that's good for you. If it feels hard in the first 5 kilometers of the bike ride, it's going to be too hard for the remainder. So you want, like I said, it should feel almost a little bit too easy in that section. And that's a good way to kind of pace it and make sure that you're feeling pretty good. Those you do in the 100, you can take the first lap pretty easy and comfortable, and then you know what to expect on the second lap. So that's where you can adjust your pace accordingly. And then, or even if you're doing the 50K, when you get out to Katepwa, that's halfway point, you can decide, okay, how am I feeling? Was that really, really easy? Do I have a little bit more to give, or is that pacing good? I can hang out there. Or do I need to go a little bit easier on the way back? So judge it as you need to. Again, just think of your energy like a phone battery. Okay. If you drain it 20 or 30% in the first hour, it's probably going to be a pretty tough ride. So you want to make sure that you're keeping just a steady level there. So one of the things that comes up is what should I eat or drink and when? Normally in a ride like this, from a carbohydrate perspective, usually people have some form of carbohydrate, whether it's a sport hydration drink in their bottles that has calories in it, and those calories are primarily carbohydrates. Most of your sport drinks will have that on the label of the product of how many grams of carbohydrate per serving. Most people are good for a ride like this with 40 to 60 grams per hour is pretty comfortable level to have coming in. And then fluid wise, about 500 to 750 milliliters. That's about the size of a small or larger bottle per hour. Electrolytes are always handy to have. There'll be some on the course. We'll go through that in a little bit of what's going to be at the aid stations. But having a little bit of electrolytes, most sport fluids have some form of electrolyte in them, and typically the big one is sodium. That's helpful to have. Sodium just helps to draw that fluid into your tissues. And then the big thing is, prior to the ride is making sure that you do have something that you want to take in before that ride. Food that's easy for you to digest. I'm not going to, tell you which foods exactly to eat. It's what breakfast that you have pre-training that works for you. What's foods that sit well in your stomach, that are easy to digest for you. So it can be different things for different people. Some people like, toast with some peanut butter, or some people like, eggs and avocado. Some people like, some sort of granola. Some people like a yogurt and granola. It's different for different people. So, you find or use what's comfortable for you. A little trick is when you're eating your food, try to have it at least a couple hours before. Cycling's not as bad. You can typically maybe push that timeline a little closer depending on, because you don't have the bouncing that you have with, say, like a swimming or running, that can disrupt your digestion. So, keep that in mind. But chew your food completely before you swallow it, each bite. And that just breaks everything down a little bit more, allows you to digest it a little bit easier. And just taking it with some fluid as you go through can be super helpful in that digestion process. And because if you have it, in that 2 hours before, it allows you enough time to digest. So if you got to go to the bathroom, you can do that before, because going to the bathroom off the bike is much easier than having to go to the bathroom on the bike. Trust me on this one. So that's my special tip of the day on that one. So as you're kind of going through that bottom part of the screen there, you can see it's sort of timed out. Is that, when you're starting, you've got your bottles full, you've got whatever, food or carbohydrate that you want to, solid food that you want to take with you in your pockets. And then just you're constantly kind of taking in a little bit, every 15, 30, 45 minutes. And just you're taking in some fluid or you're taking in a little bit of food. Doesn't have to be a lot. Just chew it completely in your mouth and then swallow it. And that's just a nice way to kind of keep yourself fueled and topped up. One of the things that can happen when you're riding in groups, and I've seen this happen many, many times with people, and I caution you against it, is you'll get so focused on riding in a group, like where you are in the group and who's in front of you and who's behind you, and you get into a conversation with someone, and all of a sudden, like an hour and a half goes by and you've barely had anything to drink or eat, and you're wondering why you're feeling kind of crappy at that point. So it's really important to stay on top of this. If you're riding with someone, you can buddy up on that. Like, hey, let's make sure we remind each other to eat or drink. If you're not comfortable, like riding beside someone or in a group when you're eating and drinking on the bike, then you just drop back a little bit and do what you need to do. Or if you don't like eating on the bike, you'd rather stop and pull over, you can do that. Just stop, just let the group know I'm just stopping to have something to eat. I'll come back on. That's a nice way to do it as well. And we'll talk a little bit about communication too. So where can I refill on the course? Aid Station 1, that's in Katepwa, like Mike said. So there's a little turn in to the main Katepwa beach area. That's where the aid station will be. This is where you can actually dismount, put your bike on a rack, can stop, stretch out a little bit, and then there'll be different things there: candy bananas, bottled water, liquid IV, ice water. Just look for those orange containers. And then the second aid station will be rolling. So there'll be someone that will be, this be like in a car, someone in a bike, probably in a car, Mike, I would assume, that would have this stuff. You can pop off and just let people know what this rolling aid station will be like.
Yeah, basically the rolling aid station is just going to be like 2 tables. There's going to be several people there, and they're going to be handing you a 710 milliliter bottle of water with a sports cap on it. So basically, you just slow down. They'll position the bottle correctly. You grab it on the go. Don't be afraid if you knock it off their hand. There will be another guy a little bit further down where you can grab a bottle. Then basically what you're going to do is you're going to drink as much as possible. Try and refill. If you have like a aero bars with a front loaded water bottle, you're going to want to refill that. And there's going to be a goalie net for hockey, like quite a ways down from when you grab that bottle, so you can throw all your trash, try and hit the goal.
Yep. Oh, awesome. And yeah, like with these type of aid stations, if you're not comfortable, like, grabbing on the go, because just for safety, you don't like taking your hands off your handlebars, that's okay. The thing to do is just make sure that like it says at the bottom there, that if you're going to slow down or even stop by those aid stations, that you let the people know around you just by giving them a hand signal that you're slowing down or stopping, and then you pull off to the side to make sure that they know what's going on. So usually I'll make both a hand signal that I'm slowing down, and then I'll also audibly say it as well, so people know that that's happening. So just good etiquette and keeps everybody safe around you as well.
I'm just gonna bring up
Yeah, go ahead,
here,
Mike.
Pat.
Yep.
The rolling aid station is just for the 100-kilometer participants. Now, if you're doing the 50-kilometer route and you want to try a rolling aid station, I don't see any harm in tripping through, grab the bottle, do whatever you have to, and then you could turn around at Standing Buffalo per se. At the where you are going to turn right, if you were doing the 100K to go back down the north side, you can turn around there. Just make sure it's safe to do so. But I have no issues with you attempting to try and grab that bottle if you so choose to.
Yeah. No, that's good. Thanks, Mike. So question will come, can I draft? Yes, with 2 hard rules. So really, it's really important. If you have aero bars on your bike in any way, shape, or form, you cannot draft while you're in those aero bars. Okay, so it's really important that either your hands are on the hoods or your or horns, I guess, if it's a tri bike, if you're riding behind somebody. The reason being is because it's harder to control your bike. It's harder to get to your brakes from that position. You're typically not as balanced on the bike either, so it's harder for you to maneuver. So it's really not safe if you're riding behind someone in an aero position. So just keep that in mind. If I'm out there or some other people are out there and we see you riding like that, you'll be told not to ride like that anymore because it does put people at risk and it is a big safety issue. And I've seen people crash doing that because somebody in the front who's riding and the person behind is drafting in their aero bars, and the person in front had to maneuver really quickly and the person behind didn't have time to brake or make that change, and they ended up crashing. So you want to make sure that you're staying safe. So just why this matters, at the bottom here, at 30 kilometers an hour, you cover 8 meters every second. So imagine that 8 meters is quite a distance. So you think about the reaction time that's required for that. I always say I would probably double to triple that space. So probably 16 meters. I'd say even probably closer to 30 meters behind someone if you're going to be in your aero bars, just to be super safe. Gives you lots of time to maneuver and make decisions. So I talked about riding 2 abreast, so that's 2 people riding side by side maximum. Okay, we don't want 3 ride again because the roads are narrow around there, and you're a little more predictable in that formation. Or if you want to be super safe, you just ride one behind the other. That's fine too. And then when you're coming into turns, or again, you're riding in a pack of people, no matter where you are, I strongly suggest you do not ride on aero bars. If you're riding in any sort of pack of people, it's just much safer if you're on your hoods and you can get your brakes safely. Okay. How do I ride well in a group? So if you are riding in a group on Sunday, the name of the game is being predictable as a rider. That keeps everybody as safe as possible. So the key is when you're riding in a group, you want to be riding in a straight line. You want to avoid swerving or sudden moves. It's like imagine you're on a train track rail, and that's how you're riding basically down the road. Obviously, if there's potholes or things that you have to maneuver around, you'll tell people that those are coming up, so the people behind you know. You can point them out with your hands. Usually that's done with your left hand. And that way people know that those hazards are coming. When you're in a group, you want to brake softly. So the last thing you want to do is lock up your brakes where you're braking really quickly. You want to try to avoid that if at all possible. So just feathering your brakes just means you're lightly squeezing and releasing the brakes, allows you to slow much more gradually. That's easiest way. Call and signal. So that's, tell people when you're slowing, or if there's a hole, if there's a car coming up front, or point at hazards. Tell people that you need to ride single file, for example, like when you're going over bridges, for example, or sometimes even train tracks, riding single file, or if there's traffic, oncoming traffic that you have to ride, or riding around traffic. Say if there's a parked car on the side of the road, you want to ride single file. You want to call out your turns when you're braking. So the more you communicate as you're riding in groups, the safer everyone is. And if you're not sure, if you're unsure of hand signals or things that you want to communicate the morning of, please ask those questions. There'll be experienced riders in each group that can help you sort through that as well. Another thing as you're riding in groups is always look through the group. So watch 2 or 3 riders ahead, not the wheel in front of you. That will allow you to anticipate what's coming on or coming ahead. So if somebody's braking, you'll be able to see. This is a big one, never overlap wheels. So when you're riding behind someone, you never want your wheel to overlap their back wheel. The reason is if they have to swerve and they catch your front wheel, guess who's going down? Definitely you and probably them. So you want to avoid that at all costs. So never overlapping those wheels. And then if you're riding in group, you want to take some turns and have some fun. That's fine. You take some turns at the front because the person at the front's doing the majority of the work. So you can hold your pace. You don't want to surge off the front, just a little bit of acceleration. And once you're done at the front, a little trick is you just flick your left elbow, and that tells the person behind you that you're going to pull out and just drop back. And then that person in the front or who's behind you will now go in the front. So little tricks there. If you've never done pace line riding before, this might be all foreign to you, then you don't have to worry about this kind of thing, but this is more for people who want to ride more in that pace line formation. And next, there we go. There we go. So what skills should I practice? These are just good skills to practice all the time. So riding one-handed, so learning how to pull your bottle out of your drink. If you've never done it before, I would suggest the next couple days, like practice in a parking lot, just pulling your bottle out of your cage, taking a sip and putting it back in as you're riding. Making sure you can stay in a straight line while doing that. How do you make a quick stop? So a little trick is you put your weight towards the back wheel, you drop your heels, make your feet parallel to the ground, and then drop your heels down. Let the front brake do the majority of the work without locking it up. 25 kilometers an hour, practicing, that quicker braking can be helpful just to learn it and in a safe place. There's going to be some tight corners, some right-hand turns in this ride. So and some left-hand turns. So you want to make sure that you're comfortable doing those. So looking through the exit, making sure you're looking for traffic before you get into the exit. Doing majority of your braking before you turn in or make the turn. Not braking in the turn. That's a much safer way to do it. Out of the saddle. So if you're doing any sort of climbing and you want to accelerate out of the saddle, there's a few little risers on this particular ride that will allow you to do that a little bit, but it's good to make sure that you shift up one gear, so make it a little bit more tension in the pedals so you can keep that acceleration going. And you always want to look behind you without drifting. So a little trick is practicing, and this is something you can do even in a parking lot, but if you have to shoulder check, just practicing keeping the wheel straight ahead so you're not like turning as you're looking to the side. It's a little trick just to help you with that. Oops, ooh, jumping ahead here. There we go. How do crashes usually happen? And I know I'm going over a lot of safety stuff, but it's important to know. So like I said, overlapped wheels, we talked about that. So never overlapping wheels. Braking in the corner. So that means instead of braking before you make the turn, you actually start to brake while you're trying to turn as well. A lot of times that causes the wheels to lock up or slide out. So you want to make sure that you avoid that. Just watching for road hazards. So any sort of gravel patches, potholes, there's shoulder edges that drop off a little bit on these roads. So just being aware of those, always scanning ahead, looking at your environment, anticipating things that are coming up. And then also just watch that you're looking where you want to go, not where you want to go or where you don't want to go. So you steer where you stare. So wherever you're staring at, that's where you're going to go. So if you want to avoid that thing, look to where you want to go. Anticipate that. And what do I need to bring? Mike outlined this in the email, but make sure you have a approved cycling helmet. Check your cycling helmet. Make sure the strap is good. The fastener is good. Okay, it's not broken. Make sure that your helmet's not cracked somewhere. All of these things are super important to look at. A cracked helmet is a deficient helmet that puts you at a safety risk. Even if you think it looks fine otherwise, the integrity of that helmet's gone once it's cracked. So you want to make sure that your helmet's in good shape. Recommended, Mike said, I say mandatory, but you make the choice when you come out. Bike tail light, like I know when I do group rides, if somebody doesn't show up with a back tail light, they're not riding. So it's really important. You need to be visible out on that road. So any reflective clothing you can wear, but definitely having a rear flashing tail light just gives people anticipatory notification that you're there. You're more visible, it keeps you safer. And then a flat kick, so usually tubes, levers, a CO2 or pump. We'll have some roaming mechanics and to support you out there, but it's good to have. I put that little QR code there, so it's a tire pressure calculator. You can scan that. So if you're ever interested in like how much tire pressure should I have, it's a great little calculator. It matches up with the type of bike you have, the type of tires that you have. So you can scan that and put your information in, and it'll tell you exactly what your pressure should be on your tires. And then 2 bottles. Some people have one of those as like their fuel bottle. One will be just water. Take some extra food, more than you might think. It's always good to have a little extra than not enough. It's going to start temperature-wise, I think 10 or 11 degrees at start. When I was looking today, and about 20 degrees by noon, it looks like it's going to be a perfect day, actually. Really, really nice. Wind's going to be fairly low. So, you always want to start feeling a little bit warmer. You can always peel and shed some clothing later if you need to. Make sure your computers are charged, your watch is charged, your phone, have that with you, your emergency contact, your ID, all that stuff's important to have with you in case of emergency. So again, here's a little brief outlay of the day. Again, I'll be doing a little coaches talk at 6:50. I'm actually going to be there at arrival and set up as well. Anybody who's interested around 6:30ish, I'll do a little mobility warm up for anybody who's interested, wants to do a little stretch out, little mobility, get yourself warmed up a little bit before you start riding. I'd be happy to do that with everybody. Then I'll do a little chat just to go over some of these key safety things and just some key reminders before we get started. Then Mike will do a little briefing as well at 7. Then 7:15 we get going. Then 50K around 9:15. We'll have a little barbecue there, celebrate. And then the lap 2 cutoff is at 10:30. So riders must be starting that lap 2 by 10:30. And then 11 is the 100K barbecue will start. And then 1 o'clock, the event ends. So there'll be prize draw. And do we know what's prize draw, Mike? Do you know what prize draw is?
Yeah, the prize draw is a free bike fit from Freddie at Dutch Cycle,
Right. Okay.
which is $250 value.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Having
And
a good bike fit is like worth its weight in gold. I'll tell you that right now. Having a bad bike fit is horrendous. It makes biking a great bike fit makes your bike so much more enjoyable.
and Freddie's the best in the business when it comes to
Yeah,
fitting.
he is.
So
He's super good, super detailed, super thorough. Make sure that you're set up well. So,
I just wanted to say
um,
one thing here.
yep,
With the barbecue starts at 11 o'clock for the 100K riders. Whenever
yep.
you finish, don't worry, you'll have warm hot dogs for you. If you're finishing at 12 or 12:30, we'll cook up more. It'll be
Perfect.
fun.
Yeah. We leave nobody's stomach empty. That's the rule. Hey, Mike, I like it. It's good. Yeah, so just for those doing the 100K, again, just making sure that we do our best to get to that second loop by 10:30. Um, Again, that's holding about a 16, 17 kilometer an hour overall average. It's very doable as long as you're not like totally dawdling. So just keep a steady, consistent rolling pace and you'll be good to go. Use the aid station. Again, lap one should feel easy, keeping that kind of speed range in mind there. And then once you're on the second lap, that's where you can adjust your pace accordingly based on how you're feeling. So you can pick it up a little bit, especially if you're feeling like you got a little bit of energy in the tank. If something goes wrong out there, so mechanical, this one, Mike, I'll lean on you a little bit for this one. So in mechanicals, that can be Freddie, can be Roman on bikes or truck or what's going to happen there.
We're gonna have two trucks on the course. Myself
Yep.
is gonna be driving one, and then Freddie's gonna be driving the other. So even if you do get a flat or your chain breaks or something like that, there's not going to be you're not going to be waiting for a super long time, if at all. We will
Cool.
also have for the medical, we're going to have two rolling medics as well as a medical station at the provincial park.
Awesome. Okay. You're talking about Echo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the start finish area. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just if there's a bad patch, if you have a kind of a rough patch, that's okay. It can happen sometimes. If you're feeling a little bit off, like your mouth's really dry, you're feeling really sluggish, your energy's off, just take a minute, take in some fuel. Usually, if you have some fuel, some hydration, that those will pass. Just give it some time. If you're still empty, like say you're doing 100K and you're like, ugh, just not feeling it today, just do the 50. That's okay. You know, this is not we're not at the Olympics here. So, you know, be safe out there. If you need to adjust, that's all right. Not a problem. Um, Normally, typically with the trucks and everything, they'll be in contact with each other. So if something does happen, be able to respond to it as well on the road. So kind of keeping tabs of everybody as well that way. So if a rider needs to be picked up for some reason or that kind of thing, that will be communicated across all of the different support vehicles. So remember what this day's for, just closing up here. You know, it's not timed, it's not a race, it's just a good, solid, catered training session. That's what we'll call it, where you get to have some fun with your friends in a nice, safe environment and a lovely place to ride your bike out in the valley there. So, you know, practice your race pacing, test your fueling and hydration that you might use for an event, you know, sharpen your bike handling, your gearing skills. One of the things I didn't talk about, but I'll mention quickly, is the more efficient you can be with your cadence, so that's how many times your legs are spinning per minute on the bike, or that you're pedaling per minute on the bike, that the more consistent that is within a range, the more efficient you are on a bike. So you want to use your gears, whether you're going uphill or downhill, consistent cadence. So for a lot of people, there's no set range. Like, it's not like you ride at 90 cadence, that's most efficient. It's very individual. So some people, like, for example, I ride most efficient at 75 to 80 cadence. I know people that I train with or coach that ride at 90 cadence more efficiently. It's very individual. So you just kind of find what your groove is, and then you use your gearing to stay as consistent as possible with that cadence. That makes you much more efficient on the bike. What you don't want is, like, you're not using your gears and your cadence is dropping down to like 40 or 50 going up a hill, and then you go down a hill and you're spinning up to like 110, and then so you want to use your gears and be able to maintain that steady cadence. That's going to make you a lot more efficient on the bike. So that, and then really the last thing is just you get to ride in a group with people, and you can learn all about that and work on some skills of riding in a group. So you want to stick around, like Mike said. That Dutch Cycle Bike Fit is a gem, and you want to make sure that you stay in mind for that. So what's our registration at, Mike? Curious. Do you know top of mind how many people?
Currently 55 people.
Awesome. Okay, 55. Yeah. So you got a 1 in 55 chance of getting a bike fit. That's pretty good.
Pretty good odds.
Yeah. So now we'll open up the floor. Hey, look at that. Bang on time. Open up the floor to everybody. Any questions? You can put up your hand. Anything that you have or you're wondering about, or anything that was talked about that you want a little bit more clarity on from the group. Ask away.
I got a. I just wanted to let everyone know that, even though we will have things on the course for fuel and hydration, it would be in your best interest to, whatever you're going to be racing with, to bring that on the ride and to practice with it. Yeah. And you'll know, say you got a half Ironman coming up, and you're going to use tailwind, for example, and then you get an upset stomach. Well, you don't want that to happen on a race day. So this is the perfect chance to try everything out that you think you're going to be using, that you think you're going to need. And who knows, maybe it's not enough sodium, or it's not enough. Maybe you end up bonking halfway through and, oh my God, I need to have a way better fueling plan. This is your chance to test it out. So everything that's at the aid stations, that's for emergencies. If you didn't bring it, whatever. Of course, you can indulge if you want, but definitely try out what you're going to be using on your races.
Yeah. So to give you an example, I mentioned that 40 to 60 grams of carbs. If you're not like familiar with fueling or what it takes to fuel for a ride like this, what I usually tell people from a calorie perspective, normally you're taking in about, depending on your size, a good foundational level to take in is about 200 to 250 calories an hour. That's a very general guideline, but if you're looking for a place to start, that is kind of a good starting point for how much you should be taking in. So just to give you an idea of that, what that might look like. So if you're wanting to practice, there's a good range to kind of stay in there. Any other questions from the group? You raise your hand or just unmute yourself, ask away. Any questions? Come on, Sam, you have a question. I know you do.
No, you guys covered it great.
I just wanted to call you out, Sam, that's all. Yeah.
I'm on the bike right now.
Awesome. Love it. Any other questions?
Well, you know, if you guys think of anything,
Oh, Sam, can you mute yourself real quick? Perfect. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
well, if you guys end up thinking of anything, it'll be your chance in the morning before the ride to ask Pat when you're warming up with him and he's showing you some mobility exercises to ask away. You can ask me before the ride starts at 7:15. You can ask whatever question you want, and I hope we have the answer for you.
Yep. Doesn't look like there's any questions. So, well, I guess we can just wrap that up. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for taking a little bit of time out of your Wednesday night to join us. And yeah, if Mike will have a recording of this, so we'll make sure that that gets sent out to everybody. If you want to go back over some things, or if you have any questions, just let us know. You can email me. I'll just type it in the chat here, and I don't know if I can. It's patrick@endurancejourney.com. If you have any questions, Mike, well, you have Mike's email because he sent it to you. But yeah, so patrick@endurancejourney.com. You can ask me any questions there too.
Also, if you need any coaching done, he's the best in the business. He helped me with my Ironman.
Thank you, Mike. Very nice
also,
of you.
Joanne did
Well,
was
Joanne
asking in
put
the
our-
chat. Oh,
Yeah.
she's asking. She assumes that there's no bibs. That is correct. This is a training ride, not a race. So there's no need for a bib. There's no need for any timing.
Okay, I have one other question. Sorry, my camera's not working. Are there going to be some sort of signs for traffic to be aware that we're out there? I'm more concerned about the Katepwa road because I know how fast I go on that road. There's a lot of corners. So I wondered if there was going to be any signs, or perhaps there's just a strong presence and people will be aware of us that way and the vans going back and forth. But I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, absolutely. There will be signs. I'm going Friday on my EDO to go and set up signage. I've been posting on every Facebook group that they have for Katepwa, for Capel. I'm posting like an actual posters everywhere in the town, and also the day of the event there will be event in progress signs as you're going by as well.
Well, good for you.
So
Thanks, Mike.
There should be no shortage of people saying, "Oh, I don't know what's going on."
So yeah, just before we go here, I want to give a big shout out to Mike. This is his first event that he's organized. He's done an amazing job. And I know from someone who's organized events how much work it takes to put these things together. So a big shout out to you, Mike. Awesome job. And I look forward to this all coming together for an amazing day for everybody. So well done.
Thanks. Adam has a question.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering, because you had mentioned bibs weren't going to be there. They're not necessary. Is that necessary in a race format?
Typically, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have a bib on your helmet, or sorry, you'll be typically on the bike. You don't ride with your bib, but you'll have stickers on your bike. You'll have a sticker on your helmet. It's just a number where people can radio back and forth to each other, like, "Hey, here's 626 is coming in."
Okay.
That type of thing. And then you'd
Okay.
also be wearing a timing chip on your ankle. So if you're doing the Echo Multisport Festival, you'll be having all of that on your bike, and you'll be wearing a timing chip.
Okay.
Yeah, like sometimes in the smaller events, they'll just have like body markings. So you'll just have a number that's kind of markered on your arm and your leg. That's kind of the old school basic version. But yeah, usually they'll have a bib number, and then as Mike said, sometimes in the bigger races they'll have stickers that you put on your bike and your helmet. So
Yeah, and they provide all that.
yeah.
Okay.
Good questions. Any other questions for anybody before we sign off here?
No, I just want to say thanks so much, guys. Looking forward to the weekend.
Awesome.
It's gonna be fun.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate
yeah.
you. Thanks for supporting the event.
Yeah, great job. you
Thanks for
guys.
coming out,
Thanks a
guys.
lot.
Okay, see you on Sunday.
See you on Sunday. Awesome,
that was-
Mike.
That was great.
Well, I was like, because I was thinking about it on the weekend when we were texting. I'm like,